Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a little while. You'll see by what's currently in frame that my hobbies have shifted slightly. Still love watches, but don't have one on right now because I was wearing a Seiko Tuna and just decided I didn't want it for now. So I'll probably be getting an SKX sometime in the next little bit to just carry me until I can find something that I really like. Just wasn't feeling anything in the budget market that really spoke to me. So but today's video is about this Eddy Merckx. This is a 1990 to 1991 Eddy Merckx Motorola Team replica bike with Columbus TSX steel. It's for those of you who aren't into bikes or unfamiliar with bikes, this is basically a frame made by a company owned by probably the most legendary bicyclist of all time, Eddy Merckx. He was and still is the most successful cyclist to ever raced. After he finished racing in the 70s, started making bikes with a team of builders in Belgium. So a lot of teams used his bikes in the 80s and 90s. He still does technically own, or his name is attached to a company that makes bikes in the East, in Taiwan, I believe. But this era of Merckx steel bikes is considered, these are considered to be some of the best steel bikes ever made. He had a hand in designing them, and they're just excellent bikes, very light and surprising in the era where everyone thinks that carbon fiber is the king and steel is dead. So this is just a fun, different bike. So I decided to pick this one to restore. This will be my first restoration job. Some people will take issue with the term restoration. I plan to bring it as close as possible to Motorola factory team racing specs, but I'll illustrate some of the changes I'm going to make. But basically, this is the original paint job from 1990 to 1991. This bike was offered in the catalog for people who were fans of Team Motorola and wanted to get a bike that looked the same. It's a Super Corsa frame. The date code dates it to 1990 or 1991, so this is a birth year frame for me. The parts, I got the bike as a frame and fork from a guy who bought it whole. It was in okay shape, but a lot of the parts weren't worth keeping, so he just sold me the frame and the fork. The original parts and some of these other parts, the other parts that came with it are the original Cinelli stem and bars. These are 6642 Cinellis. Let's see if I can get that in focus. There we go. So the Merckx drop, as some people call it, a very large and elongated drop, and a pretty long aggressive stem. I might be swapping this out for a shorter Cinelli stem later, but for now this is fun. Team Motorola ran Shimano components in this era, so I had the guy who sold to me press a period corrector Ace headset with cartridge bearings, and you can see some of the detail on this bike. Eddy Merckx is known for his attention to detail, or his company anyway. So it's in pretty good shape overall. You can see, I'll zoom in here, there's some little chips here and there. There we go. But I'm going to be fixing that and doing my best to restore it. I'm going to restore it with Shimano Dura A7400 components, which is what Phil Anderson is probably the most famous rider to ride the bike with this coloration. In 1991, he was the first non-European to take a yellow jersey at the Tour. He ended up winning the whole thing, but he won a stage on a bike that looks identical to this. The big departure I'm taking from that is that he used, for the first time, or one of the first times ever in the professional peloton, he used STI shifters, so shifters integrated into the brake levers on the handlebars. And this was like all very experimental at the time, but it gave him a big advantage on hill climbs. But since I already have a road bike with SDI levers and I'm restoring a vintage bike, I decided for fun to switch to down tube levers, which some of the members of his team would have inevitably been using at the time with the same shifters, and they are Dura A7400 down tube shifters. So it's still period correct, it's just not correct to Anderson's bike. I will also he had some pretty high-end Rayer wheels. I can't remember. He had Dura Ace hubs, but I can't remember what rims he was using. But they were For now, I found a very affordable set of tubular. He was running tubulars as well. Tubular Mavic 330 opens, laced to Shimano 600 hubs. So something a little bit lower end, but I'm just going to keep my eye out for a good deal on some Dura-Ace hubs, and then probably, since the rims he was using were very light and maybe not intended for, not that I'm going to ride this bike every day, but more mundane use, probably will lace it to some modern Mavic rims that are still aluminum and look period. So that's the plans for the bike, but I just wanted to make a quick video and show it off. It's beautiful, and there's just so many incredible details. Let's see if I can get a good shot of... Sorry about that, I just accidentally paused the video, but there we go. TSX steel. TSX wasn't the most popular steel. It was a transition after SLX, before they got into their more modern exotic tubular or tube steels. But basically it's a fully butted, fully rifled steel, so there's spiral webs of stiffening material inside the tube that help give it rigidity, and so it can be very thin. This bike, fully assembled, will probably weigh about 20 pounds, which is pretty impressive for the fact that it's a 27-year-old bike. So, yeah, next up I'm probably going to do a frame protector coating, and then fix the chips and give it a wax, and then I'll start assembly. So I'll keep you posted on the process. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.